Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up for you. The crypto czar has spoken, and there's a lot to get from it. People are missing it. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $3.37 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's off 2.3%. Bitcoin, 98,600 plus. Ethereum, 2,800 plus now. XRP, number 3 spots, 254. We're off by 3.2 on the 24. We're off by 17% on the 7-day. For clarity, the whole space is off. Now, Ethereum's off 9.7 on the 7-day, and Bitcoin's off 3.5, right? So we'll keep an eye on as we move through. Let's look at the range of price, ranging between 243 on the bottom and 270 at the top. You can see we pulled back here a little bit, but you know what? Just keep watching the market. We have a lot of highlights, and we have David Sachs in its entirety, just his portion. You need to hear this, and then we're going to grab the highlights. And I think there's something to take from this, because I think a lot of people in crypto Twitter have waited so long for clarity. Every time someone comes out, they're expecting you to say XRP or Bitcoin or XLM or whatever project they believe should be spoken about. But the reality is, I think there's a larger narrative here to grab onto, and it may not seem as sexy as hearing XRP being said out of their mouth, but I think we're getting closer to that day where it will be said. That's for sure. Let's get into this. It's XRP Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen, and we are pleased to announce new speakers for XRP Las Vegas. If you haven't gotten your ticket, please do so. We have more announcements lining up, but the president of the Digital Chamber, Cody Carbone, the Honorable Christian Carlo, the head of the Digital Dollar Project, the CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse on stage. He'll be moderated and talking to Dr. Chris Brummer, the head of the DC FinTech and highly recognized Georgetown law professor. And we know Simon McLaughlin, the CEO of Uphold as well, and CEO of I Trust, Kevin Maloney. We got other announcements getting ready to roll out. Let me tell you, look, First Ledger, okay? You need to come hear what they're going to say on stage. You need to come hear about what's going on with XRP Cafe and NFTs. Everything is about to get the clarity it needs in the United States. This could literally be one of the most important conferences that you ever attend. I can't overstate it. You're not going to get the knowledge anywhere else that you're going to get at this conference. And I know, because I've been here the last two years we've done this. And there's always something remarkable shared on stage or off stage that you're just not going to get any other way. That's the beauty of these events, no question about it. And you're going to have an incredible time. Get your tickets, record-breaking sales every single day. This is Carlos Domingo. Shout out to Carlos. I tell you, what a really, really nice man. I got to meet this guy, talk to him, get to know him a little bit before interviewing him last year at the Digital Chambers Conference. By the way, they have another conference coming up in March, and I'm telling you, that is going to be remarkable. You're going to want to go to that, DC Blockchain. That's going to be amazing. This is Carlos, and he's being in a discussion here talking about Bitcoin, and he says you can't build anything on top of it. It's not good for payments. Take a listen.
Or even just from sort of a community perspective, is there specific ecosystems that seem sort of exciting for this, or is it really just kind of Ethereum's the only game in town?
So we started on Ethereum like everybody else, basically because when we started the company, there was nothing else. So keep in mind, our first smart contracts were written in like 2016, that there was no other viable chain back then, except for Bitcoin, but Bitcoin doesn't have smart contracts, right? So I don't know about this L2 RWA on Bitcoin. I'm skeptical of all those projects because Bitcoin by itself is just not a good ledger to build anything on top of it. But that's just my personal opinion. And then, because of the limitations with Ethereum, there's kind of been like two things happening in the market. One is the Ethereum strategy itself is been to create this roll-up centric roadmap where there's other, subchains of Ethereum that end up, rolling up onto Ethereum, but they can actually do faster, transactions, cheaper, etc. So we work with Optimism, with Arbitrum, etc. on that front. And then there's been the other approach of, let's create another L1 that competes with Ethereum. So we've worked We work together with Avalanche, with Polygon, with Aptos, with XDC, etc. That are just like parallel chains. And we live in a multi-chain world, so we understand that we have to be in as many chains as possible because every chain has different protocols that we can integrate with. It has different liquidity pools, different user base, different volumes of stable coins, etc. So we are very committed to be multi-chain and cross-chain, and we.
And there you have it. That's Carlos Domingo from Securitize. This isn't a corner store, okay? They're the ones working with BlackRock on the Biddle Fund, right? Which is also backing the U.S. Treasury position that's happening on the XRP ledger. I think the tentacles on this thing are just getting incredible, and we're just getting started. Shout out to Carlos. Now let me take you here, because not many people realize this, especially if you're new to the space here. But this is Chris Larson, and he's going to give you a real example from more than a decade ago, because if you've been here, you know this. Bitcoin's been on the ledger for over a decade. Watch, Chris Larson will explain it to you from 12 years ago.
Payment now has been made. That payment is permanent. It cannot be reversed. So merchants will like that. And again, there's no central authority behind that. Let's say I want to, let me show you in my wallet. I've got some other currencies. I want to send another one. Notice that I've also got Bitcoin in my Ripple wallet. Again, Ripple is multi-currency, and it's interoperable to Bitcoin. So you can use your Ripple wallet, you can use the Ripple network to also send Bitcoins. Let me show you how that works real briefly. So
and
again,
watch how quickly this happens.
This time a payment in Bitcoin.
I'll just pull this down. He's walking them through the payment. But the reason I'm showing you this because exactly what Carlos Domingo said, right? Carlos said it's not a good network to build on top of, and it's not good for payments, in his opinion.
Confirm that transaction. System's going through a process of consensus.
Watch. Boom. Transaction's cleared just like that. So now there we have it. And the reason I'm showing that is because why not have Bitcoin run on the ledger? Why not have the XRP ledger adopted by the United States government as a protocol, a value protocol, and then have all of these assets run across it? So then you can monitor the activities on said ledger because it has a decentralized exchange. All the multiple ledgers from the on-chain economy can plug into the decentralized ledger. You see where this is going, right? I mean, to me, this is where this is going. It's obviously and Ripple's had this vision for more than a decade. So I think it brings a consistency to the market. No longer will you have to wait for Bitcoin to settle that long unless you're directly on Bitcoin's network. You could have it on here, put all the liquidity of Bitcoin on the ledger, and voila, you got the settlement time you need. Just it's matching the market. Imagine this. You buy Apple stock and then versus buying Tesla stock, and the Tesla stock settles in seconds, and they tell you the Apple stock, you got, it could be 10 minutes, an hour, That lack of consistency in the market doesn't make any sense. So it seems to me that we need that top down where we see a value protocol adopted, or protocols, which I believe over time will be the case. And just like the internet, these several protocols give us the new experience of the internet of value. Speaking of the internet of value, there was a long talk yesterday, and 3 minutes of it was David Sachs in his opener. Now, there's quite a few things that were very important out of this. I want to give you the 3 minutes very quickly of David, and then we're going to run very quickly through the highlights. So let me give you this.
Financial assets are destined to become digital, just like every analog industry has become digital. And we want that value creation to happen in the United States rather than giving it away to other countries. The president said in his executive order in the first week that it's the policy of his administration to support the responsible growth and use of digital assets, blockchain technology, and related technologies across all sectors of the economy. And he established an executive branch working group for digital assets, which includes Secretary Besson at Treasury, Secretary Noem, soon to be confirmed Attorney General Bondi, Secretary Lutnick at Commerce, and all the other key administration officials that have an equity in crypto. And similarly, the SEC has set up a crypto task force led by Hester Peirce, which is also looking at this issue. And together, our objective is to accomplish the task the president assigned for us in his EO, which is to propose a federal regulatory framework governing the issuance and operation of digital assets, including stablecoins, in the United States. I've talked to many founders over the past few years, and they've told me repeatedly that the number one thing they need from Washington is regulatory clarity. They just want to know what the rules of the road are so they can abide by them. We're coming off, frankly, 4 years of arbitrary prosecution and persecution of crypto companies where the SEC wouldn't tell founders what the rules were, but then they would prosecute them. And many founders have even told me stories of being debanked personally just because they had founded a crypto company. All of this, this approach was driving this important technology of the future offshore, and we want to keep that innovation onshore in the US. Financial assets are destined to become digital, just like every analog industry has become digital, and we want that value creation to happen in the United States rather than giving it away to other countries. This will also, I should add, be much better for consumer protection because it's easier for regulators to supervise an activity when it's onshore. And it's probably not a coincidence that the single biggest fraud in the history of crypto, which was FTX, was based in the Bahamas. By moving the innovation onshore, it'll be easier to separate out the good actors from the bad actors. And we want to encourage the good actors, the innovators, while protecting the market from the bad actors. And I think a market structure legislation with clear definitions and fair rules will do that. I want to say additionally, we're excited about working with both the House and Senate on stablecoin legislation. I know Senator Hagerty introduced a bill today. This stablecoins really have the potential to ensure American dollar dominance internationally, to increase the usage of the U.S. dollar digitally as the world's reserve currency, and in the process create potentially trillions of dollars of demand for U.S. treasuries, which could lower long-term interest rates. So let me stop there, and I want to thank the chairman here today, Chairman Scott, Chairman Hill, Chairman Bozeman, Chairman Thompson. And I look forward to working with them as part of the administration to help turn President Trump's policy into reality. This was a week one priority for the administration, and we're excited that our counterparts in Congress are equally committed to ensuring American dominance in digital assets. I look forward to working with each of you. And with that, I want to say work with each of you in creating a golden age in digital assets. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chairman Scott. Thank you.
There you have it. And it goes over to Chairman Senator Tim Scott. Look, notice this. David Sachs is there. Senator Scott's there. Representative Hill's there. Oh, hey, stay with me. Quick shot about what's going on here. Listen.
Approach was driving this important technology of the future offshore, and we want to keep that innovation onshore in the US. Financial assets are destined to become digital, just like every analog industry has become digital, and we want that value creation to happen in the United States rather than giving it away to other countries.
That is a key point right there. And you can't regulate it if it's not inside your country. That's the problem too. Now we have this gentleman who's also on the Ag Committee. Why is the Ag Committee there? Because the Ag Committee oversees commodities. Boozman is there. You know, look, all of these people are there at the same time. Stay with me and hear this clip.
You know, America really was a leader when it came to Internet 1.0. It was the Internet of knowledge. And the Internet 2.0, again, it was America that led that for the world, not just for our citizens, but for the world. And that was the Internet of things. And then Internet 3.0 is what we're talking about today, and that's the Internet of value. And we're in a...
Well, isn't that interesting? Internet of value, that phrase was created by Chris Larson and Brad Garlinghouse. That's who created that phrase. I first heard it from Chris Larson, then I heard it carried over by Brad Garlinghouse. Now let's keep going.
We're coming off, frankly, 4 years of arbitrary prosecution and persecution of crypto companies where the SEC wouldn't tell founders what the rules were, but then they would prosecute them. And many founders have even told me stories of being debanked personally just because they had founded a crypto company.
Brad Garlinghouse openly talked about being debanked. Now let's look at this highlight out of this. Take a listen.
So one of the things that the president instructed us to do was to evaluate the idea for a Bitcoin reserve, and so that is one of the things. That's one of the first things we're going to look at as part of the internal working group in the administration. So as soon as we get all that set up, we're still waiting for some cabinet secretaries who are on the working group to get confirmed. So we're still in the very early stages of this. But that's one of the first things we're gonna look at is the feasibility of a Bitcoin reserve. I think the concept of the sovereign wealth fund is a little separate, and you'd have to talk to Secretary Lutnick, or soon to be Secretary Lutnick, about that.
Okay, so now I think we're going to see a strategic reserve and a sovereign wealth fund. And it may be interesting to find out whether Bitcoin goes in the strategic reserve fund or not, or just a sovereign wealth fund. Think of it for a moment. Okay? So, two funds. There's not just one no more. There's a sovereign wealth fund, executive order signed for it, and a strategic reserve. Two different things. Head on a swivel. He's asked about the Bitcoin reserve again, the propaganda machine. But what about Bitcoin?
The Bitcoin reserve, you said that's being studied. It's one of the first things that's on the table here. What goes into that process? Is that something that would be standalone, or is that something that could potentially be tucked into, say, a sovereign wealth fund, which has been the speculation today on the heels of that executive order?
I guess it's possible that the sovereign wealth fund could decide that they want to make Bitcoin or digital assets part of its portfolio. You're going to have to ask the incoming Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick about that. The item that President Trump asked our working group on digital assets to study is whether it's feasible to create either a Bitcoin reserve or some sort of digital asset stockpile. And so we're going to be looking at that question. We haven't committed yet to doing it, but it's one of the first things we're going to be looking at.
So there you have it. Again, we have a difference. The American Sovereign Wealth Fund is going to be up to Howard Lutnick to decide what's in it. And now that we know he holds hundreds of millions of dollars worth of a position of Bitcoin, I think it's safe to say that Bitcoin will be in that Sovereign Wealth Fund. But I think it's still a question whether Bitcoin is going to end up in a digital asset strategic reserve stockpile. Breaking: President Trump's crypto czar David Sachs believes stablecoins could play a key role in maintaining global dominance. Listen to the clip.
We're working with both the House and Senate on stablecoin legislation. I know Senator Haggerty introduced a bill today. This stablecoins really have the potential to ensure American dollar dominance internationally, to increase the usage of the U.S. dollar digitally as the world's reserve currency, and in the process create potentially trillions of dollars of demand for U.S. treasuries, which could lower long-term interest rates.
And that is the key. That's what I've been talking about here, and that tells me we are river dancing on top of this thing. It is about the dominance of the U.S. dollar and ensuring that it remains for the next 150 to 300 years so our children's children can have the same opportunities and more than we had. Kraken's so pumped up, they said mainstream adoption is here. I'm inclined to agree with them. Taylor Barr from the Digital Chamber says this: the chairs of Senate Banking Committee, Senate Ag Committee, House Financial Services, House Ag Committee have formed a legislative working group on digital assets. As all four committees have now subcommittees focused on digital assets, the new working group will harmonize subcommittees to ensure progress. I say translation. They are coming together to expedite the process to get legislation passed sooner. Now, Senator Tim Scott said in a comment that he believed he wanted to get this done aggressively and to get legislation passed in the first 100 days of this administration. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to take off like a rocket. Takeaways from the digital asset presser here, just from Eleanor Terrett, in case we missed something here, is all of these committees come together here. They will prioritize stablecoin and market structure legislation. That's the takeaway. Senator Tim Scott plans to be as aggressive as possible to have bills through the Senate in the first 100 days. That would be remarkable, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the committees plan to build from the FIT 21 bill for market structure legislation and will use Senator Hagerty's new stablecoin bill that dropped today as a starting point. Remember, Senator Hagerty's bill, they had trouble with Maxine Waters in the House where the Fed, the left wants the Fed level control and the right side of the aisle wants state level. So they came up with a split the baby moment. Anything over 10 million or 10 billion, I think it is, will get regulated on the federal level. Anyone holding a reserve of stable coins under 10 billion, I believe is the number, then that will be done on a state level. And that's how you get compromises where everyone wins, right? Stablecoin legislation is moving forward quickly. Remember, it is the low-hanging fruit, they say at Capitol Hill. So Senator Tim Scott, and he says Republicans have been working with Democrat sponsors on the bill. They plan to move on that first. That'll give them the momentum they need. Representative Hill says the plan to work on both market structure and stablecoins simultaneously on a bipartisan basis in the House. So we'll see how all of this continues to unfold. So they have to discuss AML laws and Democratic colleagues in a broader sense, not just as it relates to digital assets. And I think you're going to find out there, everybody's going to need to be AML and KYC'd on the new internet of value. I have a feeling. All right, Dark Defender here. Hi, all. I hope you're fine. As promised, here is the update daily structure. XRP continues the daily correction and consolidates under the $3 level, which will be the break-even point for continuing with our targets. Wave 3 indicates $5.85 is at sight and closer than ever before. This structure aims at $8 plus with its fifth wave shortly. It has started to get exciting. I think so too, no doubt about it. I'm here for it. And understanding where we are and just how much is getting ready to happen in front of us, I don't know how anyone could be anything other than absolutely excited, but it's not financial advice from me or anyone else. We're going into the Freedom Zone, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you'll join us. You're going to love it today. Well, the government's spying on us, and now we've got even more confirmation of it. We're going to touch on that in a little quick clip here about tariffs and negotiation techniques and tactics. You're going to love it. Come on inside. Again, not financial advice from me or anyone else. You can join us by clicking the link underneath the video and come on in. All right, welcome back. Let's get into this. All right, let's start right here.